right. Can the music be off? Thank you so much. All right. So, proposition, opposition. Okay. So, we'll just go through some technical runs before we officially begin. Okay. Don't worry. We'll give you some time. We'll run through everything so that make sure that everything runs smoothly. Where is your other team member?
He is unfortunately at the bathroom.
Okay. We'll wait for him to come and then I will explain every single thing about the procedures of the debate. Okay, judging for the junior finals, it is myself, Mr. Piam, Miss Pear, Miss B, Mr. Aaron, and Mr. Chad. Okay, all three members of the team. Okay. So, okay. Please listen to me carefully, okay? You will come up here one by one to do your speech. There is a microphone at the table. However, that can only be used for your POIs, okay? So you say, and don't do the POI without the mic, okay? The other team may not hear you. Do the POI with the microphones, okay? But, for your speech, there is a microphone at the podium, okay? So I'm gonna ask you one by one to please come up, okay, at the podium and try speaking into it. Okay, so I don't think the plug should be there. I think that's a very dangerous place for the plug to be. But I think it's gonna trip. Yes, okay. So, okay, can the oppositions, Tyler, ต้นกล้า Keen, one by one, can you come up onto the podium? Okay. So this is just a run through, okay, technique, okay? So, okay, try speaking into the microphone.
Hello.
Okay, good. Next person.
Hello.
Okay, and next person.
Hi, bye.
Okay, so can we have the proposition, please? Okay, one by one, please stand up. Speak, no, we have the microphone at the podium. That is only for POIs, okay? So the microphone here.
Good morning, everyone.
Okay,
Good evening, everyone.
okay. So
Good afternoon, everyone.
if all three of you, because there's a bit, okay? There's a bit of a height difference between the two teams. So if your team, okay, if you wish not to use the step, okay, you can please remove it so that you can be closer to the podium, okay? Proposition, please listen to me. Proposition, if you are using the podium, okay, if you do not wish to use the step, okay, remove the step, okay, towards the back, and then you can put your iPads, your script onto the podium, and then you can start speaking, okay? The time won't start until you start speaking the first word. Okay, so just to recap, that microphone is only for POIs. Use the microphone at the podium for when you're speaking, and if you don't wish to use the step, please put it back, all the way back, okay? So that if you step back, you don't trip as well. Everybody understand? Okay, so the time is 2:19. I'll give you until 2:30. I'll give both teams until 2:30 to finalize everything And that is when we will begin the debate. Any other questions? Okay.
Can I pick it up?
Yeah, but it will sit down if I don't plug it in.
Proposition, who is the first speaker? And your nickname is? Nop. Second speaker? Oscar. Third speaker? Stone. And who's the reply? Nop. Okay. Opposition, who is the first speaker? Keen. Who is the second speaker? Tyler. And who is the third speaker? Tonkla. And who is the reply speaker? Keen. All right. Mr. Aaron will now explain the time cues for this debate.
Hi, welcome to the junior finals. Congratulations for making it this far. As you know, you only have 4 minutes to give your speech and 30 seconds of grace time. You can only give your POIs between the first and third minute. In order to help you all know where you are in your speech, I will clap once at 1 minute and once again at the third minute to indicate when you can give your POIs. Additionally, I will also clap twice at 4 minutes to tell you have 30 seconds left, and I will clap 3 times at 4 minutes and 20 seconds to let you know that you have 10 more seconds. Once we hit 4:30, we will have to interrupt you and ask you to leave the stage. Additionally, please remember to keep your POIs under 20 seconds or else we'll have to interrupt you. We look forward to hearing your amazing speeches, and I hope that this is a wonderful debate.
Thank you, Mr. Aaron. I would like to welcome everyone to the final round of World Changers Cup 2025 Debate International Championship for the juniors. Can we have a big round of applause for both teams? On-site government, we have, my name is Mr. Piam, here with Ms. Pear, Ms. B, Mr. Aaron, and Mr. Chad, and we will be your judges for this round. The motion for this round is this House believes that young people today will change the world more than any generation before them. On-site government, we have Team 17, and on-site opposition, we have Team 1. Without further ado, I would like to welcome the first speaker of the government, the Prime Minister, to begin the debate. Here.
Good afternoon, honorable adjudicators. Good afternoon, honorable adjudicators, esteemed opposition, and members of the House. As Prime Minister, I rise to propose the motion. This House believes that young people today will change the world more than any generation before them. Let's define our terms. Young people today refer primarily to Gen Z and younger millennials, those born from the mid-1990s onward, currently shaping society through activism, innovation, and cultural influence. Change the world means driving significant transformation in political systems, social norms, economic structures, technology, and global discourse. Crucially, this motion does not specify that the change must be positive. Change can be disruptive, controversial, and even destabilizing, but it is still change. We also distinguish change from impact. Impact implies a value judgment, while change refers to measurable transformation. Our burden is not to prove that young people will make the world better, but that they will reshape it more profoundly than any generation before them, through speed, scale, and reach. First, young people today are the most globally connected generation in history. The EY Global Generation Report 2025 describes Gen Z as the first truly global generation, simultaneously more connected and locally aware than any before. They coordinate movements in real time, share tactics across borders, and build solidarity without institutional gatekeeping. In Morocco, youth protests grew over 3,000 to over 130,000 in just 4 days, demanding reforms in healthcare and education. In Nepal, youth-led digital networks mobilized thousands to storm Singha Durbar, the central government complex. Past generations were limited by geography, slow media, and centralized leadership. The civil rights movement in the 1960s... Yes?
The governments claim that young people use technology to organize and connect and mobilize, giving them more power than any generation in history. But remind us that amplifying voice is not the same as holding the structural power. the level of reforms.
POI time is up.
Gen Z uses TikTok, WhatsApp, and Discord to mobilize instantly. Their tools, encrypted messaging, live streams, algorithmic amplification allow them to scale ideas, whether constructive or destructive, in ways no previous generation could. Second, they are leading movements with unprecedented speed and scale. In Madagascar, Gen Z protests over corruption and water shortages led to the collapse of the government in October 2025. From #EndSARS in Nigeria to climate activism in Jakarta, Gen Z is redefining civic engagement. Their movements are digitally native, leaderness, and resilient, traits that make them harder to suppress and quicker to scale. Previous generations need years to build momentums, but Gen Z turned hashtags into protests overnight. The Carnegie Endowment warns that youth-led digital movements now pose systematic risks to fragile democracies. Third, they are reshaping industries and future-proofing society. Faced with AI disruption, Gen Z is pivoting toward resilient careers and ethical entrepreneurship. Fast Company 2025 reports that Gen Z is AI-proving their careers by shifting trades, creative fields, and human-centered roles. In Kenya, youth-led blockchain startups are securing land rights. They're not just reacting to change, they're designing it. Boomers built careers in stable industries, but Gen X adapted to globalization. But Gen Z is the first to face AI as a direct competitor, and they're rebuilding the economy around it. Fourth, they're redefining cultural resistance. From animate protest symbols to meme-based political discourse, Gen Z is rewriting the language of dissent. In 2025, the Straw Hat Parade flag from One Piece appeared in protest from Jakarta to Kathmandu, becoming a global emblem of rebellion. This isn't travel, it's tactical. Gen Z uses cultural symbols to unify movements, bypass censorship, and emotionally engage participants. Previous generations relied on slow-moving art and music. Gen Z weaponizes culture at the speed of virality. In conclusion, young people today are not just inheriting the world, they're transforming it. They're more informed, more connected, and more mobilized than any previous generation. Whether through protest, entrepreneurship, or digital disruption, they're reshaping the world's system, value, and institutions. For these reasons, we beg to propose. Thank you.
I would like to thank the first speaker of the side government for their fine speech. And now, 1 minute interval. And now I would like to welcome the first speaker of the side opposition, the leader of the opposition, to present their case. Here.
Before I begin my speech, I would like to rebut what the government side said. They claim technology gives young people more power than ever before. Tech spreads ideas, but real authority is who makes laws, sets budgets, and governs institutions. Now onto my speech. Honorable judges, respected opponents, and distinguished audience. Good afternoon. Will young people, especially Gen Z and Gen Alpha, surpass every generation in human history in changing our world? We stand firmly against this motion. Sir Isaac Newton once said, "If I have seen fervor, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants." Newton's wisdom reminds us that progress is never made alone. Today's young people may appear more advanced, not because they stand taller, but because earlier generations have lifted them higher. First and foremost, we must distinguish between inspiring moments and transforming civilization. We define changing the world as creating structural, enduring transformations in global systems whose effects persist across generations. We measure what it truly means to change the world through three essential criteria. First, depth. Does the change reshape systems fundamentally or just stop at surface level impact? Second, durability. Does impact last across generations or fade once the headlines move on? Third, dependency. Can these changes sustain themselves, or do they depend on powers and systems controlled by others? Previous generations passed these tests decisively, shaping, except
If youths actually lack power, then why are they leading global movements across more than 140 countries?
those global events only raise awareness. They don't create real change. Shaping the 19th and 20th century into the most transformative chapter in human history. The greatest generation defeated global fascism in World War II, rebuilt shattered nations, established democratic institutions, and landed man on the moon. Baby boomers overturned racial segregation through the civil rights movement, securing legal protections such as the Civil Rights Act of 1964 in USA, the UK's Race Relations Act, and inspiring South Africa's fight for racial equality. Generation X advanced digital and AI technology by starting the internet era and expanding AI in real-world applications. Building upon the pioneering work begun at 1956 Dartmouth Conference that laid the foundations for today's AI revolution. Real transformation demands institutional power, the authority to legalize, fund, and enforce change. And that power still concentrated in older hands. According to the OECD's Government at Glance 2025 report, only 22% of parliament members are under 40, and just 3% of cabinet members are under 35 in developed countries. The core issue is about foundational change versus incremental change. Thank you.
I would like to thank the first speaker of the side opposition, the leader of the opposition, for their fine speech. And now, 1 minute interval. And now, I would like to welcome the second speaker of the side government, the Deputy Prime Minister, to further their case. Hear, hear.
Good afternoon, honorable adjudicator. Can I start? Okay. Good afternoon, honorable adjudicators, esteemed opposition, and members of the House. As second speaker for proposition, I argue that today's youth will create more global change than previous generations because they have unique access to powerful tools, networks, and opportunities. Let me start with the rebuttals. The opposition has stated that past generations built institutions. Yes, but Generation Z is dismantling and redesigning them. In 2025, youth-led protest forced leadership changes in Madagascar, Nepal, and Sri Lanka, which I'll expand on later. Institutions built decades ago are now being reconstructed by youth who refuse to wait for permission. That is not just participation, that is transformation. Let's continue by clarifying this motion. This motion is about change, not impact. Change is a neutral term. It includes progress, the distribution, instability, and transformation. The opposition shifts this debate towards moral outcomes, arguing that youth movements are chaotic, misguided, or even harmful. But that is not what this House is debating. The opposition fixates it on power and social hierarchy too much and completely neglects the definition of change, mistaking it for impact. We're not here to prove that young people will make the world better. We're here to prove that they will change it more profoundly than any other generation before them, and we will. Firstly, this debate is about nature and the scale of change. Comparing the fast political shifts by today's youth to the slower, more organized movement of the past, youth-led protest today has caused major political results almost overnight, such as the government collapse in Madagascar and Nepal, which I have stated earlier, and the removal of the Sri Lankan president through a quick, leaderless uprising. These examples show power of coordination through modern technology, mainly through encrypted messages and viral social media. Secondly, this generation is also changing the way information spreads.
Eli,
Yes?
you claim that this generation fundamentally changed everything. But let me ask you this. If each generation builds on the last, how is this one more?
I beg your pardon?
If each generation builds on the last one, how is this one more?
This is more because they are not building upon the last generation. They're completely reconstructing it. They are completely changing it. And also, this generation is and following up to my speech, this generation is changing the way information has spread. They're the first to live entirely in algorithm-driven media. They shape public discussions through platforms like TikTok, Reddit, and Discord, influencing both meaningful reforms and spreading misinformation. Examples like youth impacting elections in Brazil and US debates on issues like Roe versus Wade. Unlike past generations without these tools, today's youth use their digital skills to influence public opinion and change institutional discussions, showing how they're reshaping political and social systems. The Oxford Internet Institute highlights how youth-led digital channels affect public trust and election outcomes worldwide. Furthermore, Generation Z is changing traditional economic systems. Facing challenges like automation and AI, they are moving away from the old career models and the value-focused economies. For example, youth-led blockchain projects in Kenya secure land rights, and Generation Z workers in US are unionizing at big companies like Amazon and Starbucks for better labor conditions. The HR Digest noticed that Generation Z preferred jobs was less valuable to AI, emphasizing adaptability, creativity, and human skills. This matters because economic systems are crucial for society. By redesigning the systems, Gen Z is creating a deep change, unlike the past generations who mostly adapt unstable institutions and globalization. In conclusion, today's youth is not about taking part in social change. They are leading it. Their strong connections, technology skills, and strategic position lets them reshape the global system faster and more widely than ever before. Therefore, we affirm the proposition that Gen Z is driving the major shift in society. Thank you. Proud to propose.
I would like to thank the second speaker of the side government for their fine speech. And now, 1 minute interval. And now, I would like, are you okay? Ready to go? And now I would like to welcome the second speaker of the side opposition, the deputy leader of opposition, to further their case. Here.
Before I begin my speech, I would like to rebut what the second speaker of the proposition side claimed. They claimed that the speed and scale of youth movements have no historical parallel. Movements can go viral quickly, but history shows durable change takes time. Civil rights and democracy took decades to institutionalize. Honorable judges, respected opponents, and dear audience, the opposition leader has established our framework, showing you how people will build upon the foundations laid by previous generations. Now, I will demonstrate through concrete comparisons why young people today will not surpass those earlier generations in changing the world. Because the transformations achieved in the past were deeper, more enduring, and continue to define our civilization today. Greta Thunberg, often cited as a symbol of young blood change. Her climate activism raised global awareness about climate action, but her movement stands on the foundations built by earlier generations. For example, the Environmental Protection Agency in USA, established in 1970 under President Nixon, became the global blueprint for environmental regulation. This single legal framework inspired similar agencies in many countries across the globe, embedding environmental protection into enforceable law. Not just the headlines. Greta may spark conversation, but previous generations were the ones who built the systems that still protect our planet half a century later. Similarly, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, in its 2024 article, Gen Z's Next Challenge, Transforming Activism into Lasting Change, emphasized
POI?
that true progress, except
Can the proposition explain how these legal frameworks are the fundamentals that enforce Greta's influence over their audience?
Can you repeat that, please?
Can the opposition explain how these legal frameworks are the fundamentals that enforce Greta's influence over their audience?
Can you repeat that one more time, but slowly, please?
Can the opposition explain how these legal frameworks that they mentioned in their examples influence Greta's audience?
Greta's audience is often cited as a symbol of young blood. But her climate activism raised global awareness about climate action, but it didn't really do what you mentioned. While young people today skillfully use digital tools as social media and AI to drive awareness and mobilize support, their impact primarily amplifies voices and enhances productivity. Movements and hashtags can trend worldwide within hours, but virality is not the same as transformation. Social media accelerates communication, yet it operates on telecommunication systems built by previous generations, from satellites to fiber optic networks. Likewise, AI applications rest upon decades of research, pioneered by earlier scientists and powered by the internet infrastructure those generations created. This reveals the core distinction between foundation change and incremental change. Indeed, real progress comes from generational diversity. Changing the world has never been the work of one generation alone. Thank you.
I would like to thank the second speaker of the side opposition for their fine speech. And now, 1 minute interval. And now I would like to welcome the third speaker of the side government, the government whip, to summarize their case. Here.
Good afternoon, honorable panel, formidable opponents, and members of the House. Before summarizing our points, I would like to make a few rebuttals against the opposing team. The opposition stated that real authority is from who makes laws and governs institutions. However, the opposition neglects that institutional power is no longer the only route to change. Gen Z uses digital platforms and litigation to bypass gatekeepers. In Colombia and Germany, youth plaintiffs have won constitutional changes on climate justice through power today, which is about leverage and visibility. Youth is approaching and mastering both of these factors. The opposition has also claimed that change must be durable to matter. Durability is one form of change, but not the only one. The motion doesn't require performance, it requires transformation. When governments collapse, when economies pivot, when cultural norms fracture, that is change. Whether it lasts or not, it reshapes the present. When we measure the key issues of this debate, it is clear that a key issue has arisen. The issue here is how change is defined. The opposition claims that it is defined by impacts and legislation, the ultimate social hierarchy. But we win this clash because change impacts social hierarchy. The opposition constantly focuses on the past, using past ethical facts and examples are clearly outdated. Our team provides juxtapositions and comparisons of how the younger generation completely reforms the structure of society over past generations, which changes the social hierarchy and the influence of people over political systems. The opposition clearly diverges from this point. Adding on to our speaker's points, our Prime Minister emphasized that change involves measurable transformation in reach, speed, scale, and areas in which today's youth excel. This generation's hallmark is connectivity, enabling real-life unity across borders and ideologies, fostering a moral awakening where injustices resonate globally. Platforms that entertain also drive revolutions, evidenced by the moments like climate strikes in Europe and digital activism in Jakarta, demonstrating that power lies in networks, not institutions. Young people are initiating cultural shifts, yes?
So youth are leading startups, civic groups, and international causes, right? Ideas inspire, but who signs the law?
As I said in our rebuttal, these changes are made by the younger generation. Just because the government enforces these laws doesn't mean that the younger generation can't change them. Proceeding on to my points, young people are not merely participating in global systems, according to second speaker's analysis. They are redefining them. The opposition argues that young people lack experience, but our second speaker showed that progress never depended on experience. It has depended on conviction. What does this look like? Well, from Hong Kong to Lagos and beyond, young activists are reshaping political structures without waiting for approval. Their activism is urgent and necessary, rather than ideological. This motion is about transformation, highlighting how connected, educated, and empowered youths are today. Figures like Greta Thunberg illustrate how quickly they can mobilize change faster than that of previous generations, not necessarily their impact on their audience. Now, to weigh this debate, let's look at what truly matters. The opposition argued that past generations changed the world too, but our side has proven that the nature, pace, and depth of change today is unparalleled compared to the past. The opposition neglects this. They use outdated sources to try and assume what the future of the change in the future could be. Previous generations changed the world over decades. Ours does it overnight. Previous generations fought within borders. Ours mobilized across them. Previous generations depended on leaders. Ours lead themselves. So, even older generations build on the foundation, it is today's youth who are reshaping the structure entirely. So, honorable adjudicators, when you weigh this debate, ask yourselves, who is changing the system faster, deeper, and more universally? Is it the generations that preserve power or the ones that redefine it every day? We, on the proposition, have showed that today's young people are not waiting for the world to evolve. They are the very force making it evolve. Their change is global, immediate, and unstoppable. Hence, we urge the adjudicators to accept the motion. Thank you. Proud to propose.
I would like to thank the third speaker of the side government for their fine speech. And now 1 minute interval. And now I would like to welcome the third speaker from the side opposition, the opposition whip, to summarize their case. Here.
Before I start my speech, I would like to rebut the proposition side. They claim that young movement are worldwide, surpassing previous generation reach. But visibility doesn't equal control. The world watch, but world-changing laws and peace do still come from institutional negotiation. Now, I would like to start my speech. Honorable Judge, respected opponents, and distinguished audience, this debate is not about denying the potential of today's young people. It is about asking whether their impact will truly surpass that of every generation before them. Changing the world is more than passion and digital capabilities. It's call for transformation that create long-term systematic change. Throughout this debate, we have demonstrated that while today young people contribute and inspire, earlier generation have changed the world on a far greater scale. Our foundation rests on 3 criteria that define real transformation: depth, durability, and dependency. First, depth. Previous generation did not just express hope. They restructured human civilization. They defeated fascism and rebuilt.
POI,
Accept.
if youth lack power, how did they create over 300,000 jobs in 1 year?
Can you please say that again?
If youth lack power, how did they create 300,000 jobs in a year?
You said slap power, right?
Lack power.
Oh, lack power. They didn't lack power. They lack power. They didn't lack power, and it didn't create 1,000 in a year. They expressed hope and they rebuilt like lots of nations. By the way, they defeated fascism and rebuilt nations. After war, they established democracy and transformative civil rights. They landed human on the moon and created the internet and the foundations of AI, not as idea, but as reality. These were not moments of awareness or visibility. They were revolutions that rewired the world foundations. Second, durability. The system created by those earlier generations still shape our life today. Environmental urgencies, civil rights laws, and digital infrastructure, they have withstood the test time and remain pillars of global progress. In contrast, much of today, young people, activism fades once public attention moves on. True world-changing impact is not measured by moments of attention, but decades of endurance. The laws, framework, and institution built by earlier generations continue to safeguard rights and drive progress even after their creators are gone. Third, dependency. Real transformation requires institutional power. That power still lies primarily with older generation. Young people can amplify change through technology, but they do not yet fully command the foundations, institutions, and resources that they sustain in. when measured by substance, longevity, and power. One truth stand firm. Rising today's young people are definitely part of the journey, but they have not surpassed those who came before. The world changed, most not through generation ambition, but through the experience and collaborations of many. Thank you.
I would like to thank the third speaker of the side opposition for their fine speech. And now, 1 minute interval. And now I would like to welcome the reply speaker of the side opposition, the opposition reply, to give their closing statements. Here.
Changing the world has never been about who speaks the loudest or moves fastest. It has always been about who builds the deep change that is durable beyond a single generation. True transformation is not measured by visibility or virality, but by the strength of the foundation it leaves behind. Earlier generations did not simply dream of progress. They shaped it with their hands, their minds, and their courage. They built democracies that protect freedom, civil rights that uphold equality, and technologies that connect humanity. Their work reshaped the world, not for a season, but for generations. The younger generation may light the flame before it built the torch. And this leads us to a vital truth. The world does not advance through generational supremacy, but through generational synergy. Humanity evolves, not through division, but through shared purpose across generation. The young bring fire, the old bring power. That is how humanity truly changes the world, not by competing for the change, but by completing the change together. Thank you.
I would like to thank the opposition reply speaker for their fine speech. And now, 1 minute interval. And now I would like to welcome the reply speaker of the side government, the government reply, to give their closing statements. Here.
Good afternoon, honorable adjudicators, esteemed opposition, and members of the House. This debate have asked whether young people today will change the world more than any generation before them. The opposition gave you precedent. The proposition gave you transformation. The opposition looked backwards. The proposition looked forwards. Additionally, the opposition fixates way too much on impact. Let's look back as to how our House has emphasized the difference between change and impact. Change represents the means driving significant transformation in political systems, social norms, economic structures, technology, and global discourse. Crucially, this motion does not specify that change must be positive. Impacts are irrelevant and branch off as one of the many rules that change causes. The opposition fixates too much on this factor. Let's model it around. Our Prime Minister framed change as speed, scale, and reach, showed that Gen Z is the most globally connected generation in history. Their tools, TikTok, Discord, encrypted messaging, enable movements that bypass institutions entirely. Our second speaker showed that young people today are not just reacting, they're rebuilding. They shape political structures faster than any generation before. That's not just visibility, it's systematic power. Our third speaker extended the cultural clash. What older generations saw as tribal, memes, anime, digital slang, has become a universal language of resistance. They also state that power and social hierarchy is changing in the state through AI, automaton, and social media. The opposition focuses on traditional structure and completely negates this point. So how do we weigh this? The opposition gave you legacy. The proposition gave you velocity. The opposition gave you structure. The proposition gave you scale. The opposition gave you what was. The proposition gave you what's next. When the stakes are the future of our systems, our culture, and our shared humanity, the moral and practical weight lies with our side. For these reasons, the proposition proudly takes the debate. Thank you.
I would like to thank the government reply speaker for their fine speech. Now, I would like to have a big round of applause for both teams for such fantastic debate. Well done. I would like to invite both teams to cross the floor and shake hands. All right, juniors, well done. You will know the results at the award ceremony tonight. Up next is our final debate for this competition, the senior category. Please gather around this area, seniors, 3:45. I repeat again, 3:45. Please gather here, and then we'll start the debate for the senior category. Thank you.